So you see a piece by Takashi Murakami, right? And bam, you're just hit with this explosion of color. Smiling flowers, cartoon characters, it's all so happy, so vibrant, so cute. But then you kind of lean in a little closer, and something else starts to show up. Something a little darker, a little more chaotic. Today, we're going to dive headfirst into the wild, complicated world of this art superstar.
And right here, this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's the paradox at the very heart of his work. I mean, look at this. On one hand, you've got this wild, psychedelic, almost end-of-the-world kind of scene. And right next to it, a skull that looks like it jumped straight out of a 70s cartoon. He's always doing this, smashing this candy-colored pop art vibe right into something, well, something grotesque, something nightmarish. And believe me, that clash is absolutely on purpose.
So this all leads to the big question, right? The one that everyone, critics, collectors, you, me, has been asking for years. What is he? Is he this deep, profound artist who's using cartoons to say something really important about our world? Or is he just a marketing genius who's figured out how to sell some seriously expensive stuff?
Okay, so how do we even begin to unpack this? Well, the key to the whole puzzle, to understanding both the cute and the chaos, is actually a theory that Murakami came up with himself, and he calls it Superflat.
Superflat. So what on earth does that mean? Well, according to Murakami, what happened in Japan after the war is that the whole pyramid of culture just collapsed. You know that line we usually draw between high art, like fancy paintings and sculptures, and low culture, things like anime, manga, video games? He says that line just got totally wiped away.
Think about it like this. Imagine taking a super serious history textbook and a comic book and just squishing them together so hard you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. That's the Superflat world. A cartoon character is suddenly just as important, just as culturally significant as some masterpiece painting from centuries ago. It's all on the same level. Everything is fair game.
But where did this idea even come from? This isn't just some abstract art theory. No, it has a really dark and traumatic origin. For Murakami, the thing that truly flattened Japanese culture was the atomic bomb. The bombs didn't just level two cities physically. He argues they created this deep psychological trauma that flattened the whole country's sense of history, of identity. It was like hitting a giant, tragic reset button on their entire culture.
So with that pretty heavy foundation in mind, let's dive into the actual art. Let's look at the totally unique visual language he created for this Superflat reality. It's a world built on cute characters, dark secrets, and obsession.
And you really can't talk about Murakami's art without getting into otaku culture. You might know the term. It basically means people with super obsessive, hardcore interests. Think geeks or nerds, but dialed up to 11, especially for anime and manga. Now, a lot of people used to look down on this group, but Murakami, he saw them as the real deal, the raw, authentic, creative engine of post-war Japan. And out of that otaku world, he gives us his signature character, Mr. Daub. I mean, at first glance, he's kind of like Mickey Mouse, right? He's got this friendly cartoon face, but Daub is not stable. Not at all. He mutates. He'll suddenly sprout these sharp fangs, dozens of crazy eyes, and twist himself into this monster. He is literally the cute and the chaos, all wrapped up in one character.
And then, of course, there are the flowers. Come on, if you know anything by Murakami, it's these guys. These endlessly happy, smiling flowers. They just look like pure joy, don't they? And they are everywhere. Paintings, sculptures, phone cases, you name it. But, you guessed it, just like Mr. D.O.B., there's a lot more going on behind that smile.
And don't just take my word for it. Here's what Murakami himself has said about them. The happy facade just totally cracks. He said that he finds them just as pretty as he does disturbing. So yeah, that smile you're looking at, it might not be as happy as you think.
This is what he does. He takes kawaii, the Japanese culture of cuteness, and he pushes it to its absolute breaking point. We're talking about hypersexualized anime sculptures, characters literally vomiting psychedelic streams of color, and using that smile as a mask for some really deep anxiety. He's using the language of cartoons to talk about really adult stuff. Sex, death, trauma, the whole shebang.
So all this complex vision, it made him a star in the art world, for sure. But what made him a global phenomenon and also super controversial is what happened next. It's when his art crashed head-on into the world of luxury fashion.
Okay, let's talk about the big one. In 2003, Murakami started this collaboration with Louis Vuitton that would last for 13 years.
Think about that. He took their super famous, iconic monogram and just went wild. He splashed it with 33 different colors, covered it in cherry blossoms, and put his cartoon characters all over some of the most expensive handbags on the planet. Nobody had ever done anything like it.
And this move was just explosive, especially back in Japan. To give you some context, at that time, Japan was buying 41% of all the world's luxury goods. 41%. So, putting his art on the ultimate status symbol in the country most obsessed with them, I mean, it was just a stroke of genius.
Marc Jacobs, who was the creative director at Louis Vuitton back then, he called it a monumental marriage between art and business. And he was right. It really was a game changer. It blurred the line between the art gallery and the fancy department store like never before.
Now, of course, a lot of people in the art world screamed sellout. But this is where you have to bring up Andy Warhol. Warhol famously said, being good in business is the most fascinating kind of art. So for guys like Warhol, and you could definitely argue for Murakami too, making money isn't selling out. The business part of it, that is part of the art.
All right, so let's circle all the way back to that first question we asked. To really get an answer, we need to look at the man himself. Let's hear what he has to say and try to figure out what's really driving all this colorful chaos. He's actually said that Mr. D.O.B., you know, that character that's always mutating, he says that's basically a self-portrait. Think about that. He sees himself in that character, constantly changing, confusing, a mix of the friendly and the monstrous. That's how he sees himself.
And wow, he does not pull any punches when it comes to his own culture. He's incredibly critical of Japan for what he calls historical amnesia. He believes his art is like a wake-up call, even if it's a jarring one. He's not just making cute art, he's trying to force his country to confront a trauma that he thinks they've just tried to paper over, leading to what he calls a stupid culture. He also talks about the incredible pressure that comes with all this success. He calls the need to keep creating and managing this huge global brand an addiction and a heavy weight. You can feel the personal burden there, the thing that keeps his massive art factory running 24/7.
So, after all that, what's the answer? Artist or marketer? Well, it's both. Of course it's both. The whole paradox is the entire point. He literally embodies his own Superflat theory. He's a serious artist and a brand, a historian and a pop icon, a critic and a product. They're all flattened into one single inseparable thing.
That's Murakami. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. You know, we live in a world where the line between culture and commerce is blurrier than ever, where brands are the new celebrities, and shopping is a hobby. So, in this world, is Takashi Murakami a prophet, showing us a mirror of our reality? Or is he the court jester, just pointing at it all and laughing at how absurd it's become? What do you think?